Okay, folks, looks like people are back in the courtroom. There's no audio in the courtroom. Okay, I'm streaming. That's good. I'm streaming there. Am I streaming on X? People are coming in. I am streaming on X. How about I'm streaming on the Law Self Defense dashboard. All right. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Test, test, test. Okay, good. All right. I take it the audio is good. Let's see, gonna pull this over here. There we go. And I lost my member. There it is. All right. Members are in the chat. Audio is good. It's got to be a guilty verdict after 2 hours, I would think. I certainly hope so. Oh, here comes the creepy lady. I only have 2 monitors here at home. Obviously, I'm home. No tie. And I'm live. I am live as live can be. Remember, folks, I'll answer questions and comments from the Law of Self-Defense chat. And $10 super chats. $10 super chats. Still no audio from the courtroom. I'm going to close up some of these tabs. 500. 500. Hey, if you're on watching this on YouTube, how about giving me a thumbs up and a subscribe for this 2 weeks of ceaseless effort by your loyal and trusted Law of Self-Defense attorney. I don't know if they're going to go right into sentencing. I've seen jurisdictions do it both ways. The most common in my experience is sentencing is delayed. So they ask for a pre-sentencing report where they look for mitigating factors, prior offenses, all that kind of stuff. That could have been prepped before, though. It tends to be a lot of work. So usually they don't prep it before because they don't know they're going to need it. I hope it's not the jury saying they just want to go home. I'd like to get this done. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on the merits that would absolve Alec Baldwin based on this. I mean, if the jury's stupid enough to believe the defense argument here that Hannah Gutierrez, it was completely unforeseeable that a live round would be on the set, even though it was her job to shake dummies to make sure they weren't live rounds and look for holes in dummies to make sure they weren't live rounds. But if the jury's stupid enough to believe that argument by the defense, I guess the jury might buy it in Baldwin too. There was absolutely impossible for anyone to imagine. For anyone to imagine that it could be. I'll put up a new poll. See if anyone's changed their mind. It's been running like 80% plus guilty in my community. And this is This is just for the involuntary manslaughter charge, just to be clear. Okay, that poll. Juries are dangerous and unpredictable creatures, folks. You don't trust them. You don't trust them any more than you trust a package that was ticking when you held it up to your ear. Maybe it's a birthday surprise. Maybe it's a bomb. I can only come to, do my legal analysis, share it with you, share my opinion based on the legal merits and the performance of the parties. Here, there's zero doubt in my mind that this is involuntary manslaughter every day of the week and twice on Sundays. The arguments for Baldwin are really, I mean, of course, the charge is the same and the legal theory is the same, but the facts are different, right? It was not a act of omission, which is what it is here. It was an act of commission in the case of Alec Baldwin. So here it's an act of omission. She failed to do her job. She failed to ensure there were no live rounds in the gun. I guess Alec did both, right? He has an act of omission. He also failed to ensure there were no live rounds in the gun. And an act of commission. He pointed the muzzle at Halyna Hutchins and cocked the hammer and fired the gun at her. Now, this is not a misdemeanor. This is a felony. Involuntary manslaughter is a felony. 18 months. So not a lot of time, but it's a felony. There's Seth Kenney in the courtroom. There is a lesser included charge. It's a lesser included of involuntary manslaughter is negligent handling of a firearm, of a deadly weapon. That is a misdemeanor. And then there's the tampering with evidence charge, which the sentence for that actually is a function of whatever the sentence is for the charge for the crime you were trying to avoid getting hit on. So here she tampered with evidence purportedly. She hid from investigators her bag of cocaine. Because the underlying felony sentence would be 18 months, the sentence for the tampering would also be 18 months. If the sentence for the underlying crime were higher, the sentence for the tampering would be higher. But involuntary manslaughter, 18 months, of the tampering charge, also a maximum of 18 months. They would be served concurrently, I would expect. It would be interesting if she got acquitted on the manslaughter and then convicted on the tampering, which in theory can happen. You'd think, how can you be convicted of tampering in a crime when you were acquitted of the crime? So it wasn't a crime, but it happens all the time. Tampering, obstruction, her alleged bag of cocaine, right? We don't know. It could have been confectionery sugar. It could have been flour. Flour she spent weeks trying to get a hold of again. There's Hannah. The lesser included is only a misdemeanor. So they could acquit her of the involuntary manslaughter and convict her of negligent handling of a firearm. That's the same offense that David Halls took a plea to. He got 6 months unsupervised probation, but Hannah would not get that. Hannah made them go through a trial. She didn't take a plea like that, if they even offered a plea like that to her. I always get nervous. Like, is the court's audio not up? It's not me, right? I'm not screwing it up. Is that Hannah's mother, maybe? No, I don't know anything about the jury. I don't know the makeup, the genders, anything. The important result, who won the jury time to the verdict prediction? I just don't believe it can be not guilty if they came back this quick. I don't believe it. 1,600 people. Oh, standing up. Come on, court audio. There we go. This is it, folks. Exciting. I'm going to stop the poll. Where'd the poll go?
All right, you may be seated.
I lost my poll.
All right.
Hit the like, hit the thumbs up,
All right,
subscribe.
ladies and gentlemen of the jury, through the foreperson, have you reached a verdict?
Yes.
All right, let me see the verdict form.
She needs a hearing.
The judge must be so happy. It was kind of a complicated set of jury forms, so I hope they didn't screw it up and the judge has to send them back. Judge Summer has the readers on.
All right, so let me repeat. I said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, through the foreperson, have you reached a verdict?
Yes.
All right, and do you wish to read the verdicts?
Sure.
Okay, I would start with count one.
Count one.
Okay, you have both of them. Will the defendant please stand?
I'm going to start with count one. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign.
We find the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, guilty of involuntary manslaughter as charged in count one.
Legal merits wins the
We find the
day.
defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, not guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in count two.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. Let me get those
Fair enough.
forms, retrieve those forms from you. I'm going to do what's called
Guilty.
polling the jury. What I need to put on the record is that this is your individual verdict, okay? So I'm going to start with the gentleman in the back. Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is this your verdict? Sir, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Sir, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Sir, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Sir, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is this your verdict? Ma'am, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ma'am, is this your verdict? Okay, thank you. All right, so you've completed your service. Thank you so much for being here. It was a long trial. People may want to talk to you. This has been pretty much a lot of publicity, and you don't have to. Okay, so you can just simply say, I do not wish to talk and move on. And if anybody bothers you, we've really tried to protect your privacy. If anybody bothers you, simply call my division, and we'll figure out what to do. But you also may talk. Okay, so it's entirely up to you. Okay. All right. So you can escort them out. All right. Thank you.
All rise.
George, just a minute. You should probably stay.
All right. What next? Talk about sentencing? All the
Maybe
people who
seated.
said I was wrong.
All right. Is there anything that the state's requesting based upon the verdict?
We would request that Ms. Gutierrez be taken into custody.
Mr. Bowles?
Your Honor, we would request under, pull up the rule, Your Honor. Your Honor, Rule 5402, release pending sentencing. In this court's discretion, under the same conditions or other conditions as this court would deem necessary. Ms. Gutierrez has been on conditions. She has not violated those conditions. She has voluntarily appeared at all court proceedings. Your Honor, I would request this court to continue conditions or whatever conditions this court would have on release.
All right, thank you. I'm going to remand you, and the reason why I'm going to remand you is you are now convicted. And so, and this is a death. It's a criminal negligence, but it's still a death. And so, deputies, you're going to take her into custody, and we will set a sentencing date. What is the best, what do you want to look like on that? And we need an order of remand, do we? Okay. Counsel?
That must be her mother.
Like in terms of the sentencing date?
Yes.
At the court's convenience will be available. There are 2 weeks in May that I'm unavailable. Those are the last 2 weeks of May.
All right. Mr. Bowles?
Your Honor, as soon as this court has time, it will be available.
All right, so, do you have any conflict like that? She said May. Do you have any conflict?
I don't know for sure, Your Honor, that I could. I do have other trials, but I think mid-May.
Well, I can do it sooner.
Okay.
I just wondered if you had any conflicts along the way.
Doesn't look like mid-May, Your Honor. I do. I don't think I have any conflicts.
I'm sorry, not understanding. Do you have, okay, we're in March. Do you have time before May?
We have time in April.
Okay,
Sure.
okay. All right, anything else before the court?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. We're in recess.
And that is it. That is it. So, I think I called it on the legal merits, and the jury came through. You never know. You never know. I still would have been right on the legal merits, even if the jury had acquitted. But they came through. This is the sound, just verdict, and fair enough on the tampering with evidence charge. I think a reasonable jury could have gone with it, but Carrie Morrissey forgot to mention the text messages. She forgot to mention the weeks of text messages. When Hannah was trying to recover her little baggie of white confectionery sugar. It's a felony conviction. She can never handle a gun again. So she's out of the armorer business for sure. Is Court TV melting down? I wonder if I can look. Can I see the comments there? Let me take a look. I'll vote on their poll. 61% say the jury got it right. That's not too bad. That's better than I would have expected from Court TV. What's Court TV saying? Let me see if I can pull this in. Are we watching it? Yeah, okay. I wonder if I can what can I do to make those comments? Here we go. Oh, it's so fast. Wow, the jury was paid off, someone says. Lock her up. Makes you really question the jury system. Does it really? Does it? Alec not at fault. Let's see. Prosecutor was a B. Carrie Morrissey was a B. I guess so. So what? That's her job. Oh, someone says high law, self-defense. Oh, I don't know if I can. See if Court TV blocks me. I might not be allowed. They used to bring me on their program to provide commentary, but they didn't like actual law. People saying Alec better be guilty now. He is. 18 months not enough. I agree with that. 18 months is not enough. But it's all that the law allows for. Free Hannah. There's a free Hannah hashtag. The truth is, it's not that big a deal. She's 26, 27 years old. She'll do 18 months. She'll be out before 30. She'll be fine. 18 months in New Mexico, that's kind of tough. There are parts of New Mexico that are pretty, not much of it, but there are parts that are pretty, but I expect that the prisons aren't much fun. When is her sentencing date? April, sometime in April. We'll set the date. I presume it'll be in the news. Yep. All right. Let's take a look. Guilty on the involuntary manslaughter, not guilty on the tampering. I tell you, I don't know that this is the judge immediately remanding him for prison. It's not a particularly good sign for a lenient sentence. Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, she's guilty now. So much for the. I guess Jason Bowles, the super lawyer, forgot his cape. Yeah. Law self-defense member James says 18 months max for manslaughter charge seems wildly low. I agree. They have since, after this event occurred, New Mexico passed a law for a firearms enhancement, sentencing enhancement, which is a mandatory 5 years. Which, if that law had been in effect when this occurred, she'd be getting that mandatory 5 years, but it wasn't in effect at the time. So, what impact do you believe this will have in the Alec Baldwin proceedings now? I don't really think it changes anything. I mean, there may be it may change the rhetoric of defense counsel. You know, this Jason Bowles defense counsel did a lot of smoke and mirrors. Alec Baldwin's lawyer may say, "Look, the person who's really responsible has already been found guilty. Hannah Gutierrez has already been found guilty. It's not our client. It was her job to know there wasn't a round in the gun." Good luck. Good luck with that argument against Kerry Morrissey. And Kerry Morrissey pulls out the win. The tampering with evidence was always a stretch. I think she had good cause to bring it. I think it was cocaine. I think the circumstantial evidence is inconsistent with anything other than being some kind of controlled substance. You don't go through all that trouble to get back four sugar packets worth of sugar. S.G. Jones, is this for me? Sorry, first message sent incomplete. I don't know if anyone has ever suggested this before, but would you consider looking at depictions of self-defense in media, TV shows and movies, and walking us through the steps to see where the people in the shows pass or fail self-defense? So I have done that. I did that with the Tom Cruise movie where he plays the assassin. He shoots those guys in the alley. Three guys basically try to steal his briefcase in an alley. What the hell was that called? I don't remember the name of the movie now. And mostly that was a good shoot until the end when he puts an anchor shot in one of the guys as he's walking away. And a good friend of mine keeps asking me to do the finale fight. Collateral was the name of the Tom Cruise movie. Great movie. I like Tom Cruise. A good friend of mine keeps asking me to cover the fight finale in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The swimming pool fight scene with the flamethrower and the can of soup in the head and all that stuff. I probably will one of these days. Yeah, I think, of course, Baldwin's attorneys are going to argue endlessly that he had no reason to believe there was a bullet there. He's not an armorer. He doesn't really know guns. He's an actor. He relied on the people hired to carry out those functions, including the assistant AD, the first AD, and the armorer, both of whom have already been convicted. We know they did it wrong. So, yeah, Kerry Morrissey is a very good lawyer. Baldwin's lawyers. I hate to say it because on his profile, he served in the New Mexico National Guard. Apparently, he was a AUSA, assistant U.S. attorney, for 5 years. That's a big position. I've never been an assistant U.S. attorney. I've never been in the National Guard. I assume he was a JAG. That would only make sense. But unfortunately for Alec Baldwin, he's got a problem because they've had unintentional shootings before in New Mexico, and they have case law, appellate court decision saying it doesn't matter who loaded the gun. It doesn't matter. All that matters is who was holding it and pointed it at another person, and the gun discharged. It doesn't matter if that person loaded it or anybody else loaded it. There was obviously a live round in the gun because it went off. That's the responsibility of the person holding the gun. Doesn't matter how the live round got in there. So that's going to be a big problem for Baldwin. Now, of course, his best defense he threw away in his interrogation. His best defense was there was actually a non-functional, or I should say non-firing replica of his pistol on set. This Denix replica. It functions the same. You cock it, the cylinder turns, you can drop the hammer with the trigger. You can load it with ammo, but it can't fire a round. And if that shot had gone off and Alec Baldwin had immediately or soon thereafter, like in his police interview, said that day, said, listen, I had no idea I was holding a live gun in my hand, a real gun in my hand. I thought that was the Denix replica, incapable of firing a round. I had no idea I was pointing the muzzle of an actual firearm at anybody, much less Halyna Hutchins. That would have been an absolute defense because the replica was on set. They look physically identical, those two guns. But he didn't say that. And if you think it's a replica, there's no reason to check it for ammo because it can't fire ammo. If you have good reason to believe it's a replica. It wasn't a filming scene. It was a practice scene. But he threw that away. Halfway through his interrogation with police, he goes, no, these are all real guns, you know. trying to impress the detectives, especially, I guess, Detective Alexandra Fish Lips Hooters Hancock. Hannah's dad was pretty old when she was conceived. I see in the YouTube comments. Yeah, because he didn't conceive her. That's not actually his daughter. So Thel Reed is what everyone calls Hannah's father, but he's not biologically her father. He was married to her mother, but Thel Reed was off on a set someplace, and the mother got bored and banged some dude and got pregnant by that dude's baby. So Hannah Gutierrez has no DNA relationship to Thel Reed at all. But I guess he raised her as if, you know, like a stepdad. You know, those two detectives, even though one of them was pretty hefty, but you know, Hooters Hancock was there, and you could just tell if you watch that interrogation, Baldwin he's so in his Alec Baldwin energy, impressing these two backwater detectives, talking his way out of trouble, impressing them with his expertise in firearms and experience in the movies. And it all got recorded. He did it all without a lawyer, signed the waivers, signed the Miranda waivers, talked for over an hour. Kept asking the wrong questions. Where did the round come from? Doesn't matter, Alec. Doesn't matter. David, Law Self-Defense member David says, the Denix replica doesn't really look like the Pieta reproduction unless you're 10 feet away. I'll take your word for it, David. I've never seen a Denix replica, so I don't know. It was described by the defense firearms expert as an accurate replica. I think he said basically indistinguishable. This is the same defense firearms expert who swept the whole courtroom and the judge with the muzzle of both the replica and the real revolver. Law Self-Defense member Michael asked, just curious on this disparity of lawyer costs between Hannah and perhaps union covered legal fees. I don't think the union covered her legal fees. She wasn't in the union. Somebody on YouTube asked, what's Court TV's heat with you? Can they not handle dissenting opinion? Well, Court TV, they're smarter business people than me. So, when they cover these trials, they take a very estrogenic emotional view of the trial. That's how they can, all their, if you want to call it analysis, is filtered through kind of a female emotional filter, because their audience is 90% female, and women love real crime drama and true crime drama. They don't really care about legal analysis. They don't want to know what the law actually says or what the facts actually are. They want to, you saw it even in the comments of my own streaming. People want to speculate. Well, for all we know, David Halls could have tampered with the ammo. Okay, but there's no evidence of that. So if there's no evidence, it doesn't exist in court. There's no evidence from which you can even, not even circumstantial evidence. Like they frisked David Hall and they found a live round in his pocket, right? Nothing like that ever happened. So people just make garbage up. But apparently it's making garbage up like that, just speculating like that. Conjecture, imagination is emotionally satisfying, entertaining media for Court TV's audience. So that's what they like to do. When they have me on, I'm like a bucket of ice water. I say things like I just said. I'm like, well, that's not an evidence. That, we'll never know if that happened or not. But if it's not an evidence, it doesn't count in a courtroom. So there's no point even talking about it. They don't want to hear that. They like the speculation and the conjecture. So I would be on there with a panel of 2 or 3 other lawyers, and they're all smarter than me. they're all playing the Court TV game, which is fine. But it's just not what I do. I do legal analysis. I don't do I don't do legal theater. So you never know. I mean, you can't. There's no reason for them to block me. I mean, of course, I'm critical of that kind of coverage, but you never know how emotional people are going to respond, right? So it's like we've all dated a crazy girlfriend at one point or another. Court TV is like my crazy ex-girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, Baldwin's as guilty on the legal merits. And I've said this from day one. The day after this event, the shooting happened October 21st, 2021. I did my first coverage of this the next day, October 22nd. And we didn't have many facts at the time. In fact, by the way, you can find all my Baldwin coverage here. I'll put the little link at the bottom. And this is publicly accessible. I haven't locked these down for my members because it's such a high profile case. lawofselfdefense.com/Baldwin. You'll find all my Baldwin coverage. You'll find my interview with Adam Baldwin, a good friend of mine who talked about handling guns on movies and on TV sets. He's done a ton of that. Adam Baldwin, of course, Full Metal Jacket, Firefly, Chuck, The Last Ship, Independence Day, lots of experience handling guns on sets. And he sent me the SAG after rules for gun handling, and we had a great interview. That's a live stream, so you might want to check that out. But lawofselfdefense.com/Baldwin. So October 22nd, the day after this shooting, I wrote about it. And of course, we didn't have many facts. So I said, well, we don't know for sure what's happening. It's possible, I said, that it was a genuine accident. An accident is a legal defense to a charge, a criminal charge, just like self-defense is a legal defense to a criminal charge. You did what they said you did, but if it was in self-defense, it's not a crime. Self-defense is a perfect defense. You did what they said you did, but if it was a genuine accident, it's not a crime. But a genuine accident has to be something where the bad outcome was completely unforeseeable. So if Baldwin is holding the gun in his hand and a piece of the ceiling falls in and strikes the gun out of his hand and it hits the floor and discharges, maybe that's a genuine accident. So I wrote on October 22nd, 2021, I don't know if something like that might have happened. If something like that might have happened, he might be fine, legally speaking. But if it wasn't a genuine accident, if you're handling a real firearm and it goes off and kills somebody, you got a serious problem, because that's an inherently dangerous instrument. Guns kill. For it to kill someone, it had to be pointed at someone, had to have live ammo in it. And any modern manufactured firearm, you had to press the trigger to make it go off. And that's involuntary manslaughter every day of the week. So once after that October 22nd article, once it became obvious that accident was off the table, the set didn't collapse on Alec Baldwin. Nobody bumped into him. Nobody hit him with a bat. Once accident was all off the table, this pretty much had to be involuntary manslaughter for him. I mean, we'll see when the trial happens, of course. There we go. Let's see what else I have. See if I have any sabotage. Remember the sabotage theory? I'm glad the jury saw through that. That was ridiculous. All right, let me take a look and see if there's any super chats. Is she technically a violent criminal now? I don't know, because it wasn't an intentional killing. I don't know what you mean by violent criminal. She's definitely a felon, so there's no guns for her anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Hannah could have had defenses, right? Hannah's defense could have been like she stepped away to use the restroom desperately, and someone just took the gun off her cart, and she hadn't had a chance to safety inspect it. I mean, maybe she had all day. I mean, how there still would have had to have been a live round in the gun, and who would have put that in there? I guess you could have said, Sarah Zachary loaded that gun while I was in the restroom, and she gave it to David Halls to hand to Alec Baldwin. So they took control of the weapon away from me, unbeknownst to me. Yeah, that would have been a defense, but nothing like that happened. So, or if they could have shown that really she was browbeaten, screamed at all the time, but there was no evidence of anything like that. It's a movie set. Things are always rushed on a movie set. It's kind of a case of hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. You know, they're setting things up, and so everyone's standing around, and then you do it real quick, and you do the next take real quick while the light is the same, while everyone's ready to go. So there's a lot of hurry up and wait, but that's true of every set. This set too. Well, Law Self-Defense members, it was streaming for me, so if it wasn't on the member dashboard, if it wasn't for you, I'm not sure what to say. I'll certainly put this up in the playback version up on the Law Self-Defense website. Yeah, no, it's streaming. You may need to refresh the page, I guess. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah. I think that was a fair and just verdict. I can understand I can understand finding reasonable doubt on the evidence tampering. I probably would have voted guilty on the evidence tampering. I just don't believe anybody spends weeks trying to recover a baggie of white powder unless it's an illicit substance. But fair enough. I can see reasonable people disagreeing. I wouldn't have fought for it hard. And of course, I would have known that it doesn't change the sentence. If she'd been convicted on that too, it would also be a max of 18 months. It would run concurrent to the manslaughter charge, so it doesn't really matter. Can the defense appeal this? Sure, of course you can appeal. I mean, if I were her, I'd be appealing on ineffective assistance to counsel, for sure. I mean, that screw up pre-trial where they failed to get the defense armor expert scheduled on time, there's no strategic reason for that. That's just a screw up. The trouble with an appeal is she's only serving 18 months. If they're going to sentence her in April, in a year and a half she's out, an appeal's not going to be heard in a year and a half. So she'd be appealing a conviction for a sentence she's already served. Is that worth the money? I don't know. Does she of course she will be a convicted felon. Does she really care? I mean, it didn't seem to me she really wanted to be a real armorer anyway. Let's see. Law Self-Defense member Kent. Oh, Michael Nisler had asked, I lost this somehow. On disparity of lawyer costs between Hannah, perhaps union covered, and Alec Baldwin. So Hannah, I don't think Hannah would have been covered by the union. She's not a union member. I've heard, although I don't know, but I've heard that her lawyer, Jason Bowles, was pro bono. And I don't know what the deal is with Monica Barreras. or for that matter, Todd Bullion, the pretty good defense lawyer who they got rid of like 2 days into the trial. So I don't know what they're getting paid. If he was getting paid, I would think maybe 250, 300 an hour for a Albuquerque, New Mexico criminal defense attorney. Now, Alec Baldwin has 3 attorneys. One of them is local New Mexico. She's a woman. She was the head of felony charges for the public defender's office in Albuquerque, I believe. And that suggests to me that she's super capable. Public defenders in general tend to get a lot of trial time, and she did it long enough to become felony head of the department or head of the felony department. Those are good signs. So I would expect she's pretty well paid. But he has 2 other lawyers. The 2 other lawyers are partners in Manhattan law firms. They're not criminal defense lawyers, so I'm not really sure why they're involved. But I'm sure they're capable lawyers. I mean, you don't become a partner in a New York firm for nothing. But those guys could be billing $1,000 an hour. I mean, sky's the limit at that level. Maybe more. Who knows? Or maybe they're just doing it for the PR. I don't know. Let's see. Kyle says, law self-defense member Kyle says, I bet this trial would have gone differently if we didn't have 4 hours of Hannah Gutierrez yapping to detectives. Yeah, I think so too. Yep. Right from the start of the first interview, they showed her those Miranda waivers. She suggested that she thought maybe she needed a lawyer. But your assertion of your right to counsel only counts if it's unequivocal, folks. I want my lawyer, period. Not, I don't know, maybe I should have a lawyer, I guess I can answer a few of your questions. That's not an assertion of your right to counsel. And that's what she did. Then she came in for the second interview, which was twice as long, more than 2 hours. And she brought a lawyer, but the lawyer she brought, unfortunately, was Jason Bowles. So, the rule is not don't talk to police without a lawyer present. The rule is don't talk to police without a competent lawyer present. And he sat through that entire interrogation and hardly said anything. The most energized he got was early on when he learned that Detective Hancock had been a Hooters girl. he thought that was pretty awesome. He gave her a big look up and down. It certainly didn't help her. It really closed off a lot of opportunities for the defense. Most of the evidence against Hannah Gutierrez in this case that hurt her badly came from Hannah Gutierrez. She's the one that said she loaded that gun. She said that in that second interrogation, maybe the first interrogation too. She loaded the gun and she handed the gun into the church as a cold gun. I mean, that locks you in to an involuntary manslaughter conviction. Law self-defense member Zakuza says, in the first interrogation, Hannah had no lawyer, and in the second interrogation, she really had no lawyer. It was remarkable. He spent the whole second interrogation 2+ hours taking notes on the yellow legal pad. Folks, he should have known every question that would be asked because he should be able to predict what they're going to ask, and he should know every answer that's going to come out of his client's mouth. There should be no note-taking about what his client's saying. He should already have interrogated her himself. And if the detectives asked any questions that he had not already interrogated his own client about, he should have told his client, don't answer that. That's fine. All right, folks. I'll take one more look for super chats here. If I can remember how to do that. On my home setup. Oh, there is a new one. Let's see. Gregory Narrowmore, $10. Thank you very much, Gregory. He asks, instructions require the element of willful disregard as an element of the crime. Was there willful disregard? Yes, because the willful applies to both commission, things you do, and omission. And arguably, she did both. So she's the only person who loaded that revolver before it went into the church. someone put a live round in that revolver. If she was the only person who loaded the 6 chambers in that revolver, she committed the act of loading a live round into that revolver. And in the course of that, she also committed willful acts of omission. She knows how to check around to see if it's a dummy. She knows to rattle it. She knows to look for the hole. She knows if she doesn't do that, visually, there's no way to distinguish a live round from a dummy. So by omitting the safety check, which she had to do in order for a live round to get in there, she also willfully committed an act of omission as well as commission. So there's plenty willful here. The act of omission is enough all by itself. And then we know she didn't adequately screen the gun for a live round because there was a live round in it. It went off. So arguably, there's another commission here where she hands the cold gun, the supposedly cold gun, into the church without having adequately screened it. That's an act of commission now. An unverified gun, unverified as cold, was handed into the set and killed somebody. Kevin says, Alec is going to weasel his way out of it. Pretty boy will get eaten alive. I don't know. Morrissey, the same special prosecutor, is prosecuting Alec Baldwin too. Jim, Law Self-Defense member Jim says, I wouldn't be surprised if Baldwin tries to fund an appeal for Hannah. So if his case gets delayed and her verdict is overturned, it helps his chances. Wouldn't make any difference. Again, an appeal would not be she's not guilty. An appeal at best would be we think a legal error was made and we're going to give her a new trial. All right, folks, I am going to go ahead and wrap things up. Whew, it's finally over on a Wednesday, so we get Thursday and Friday back. So I expect I'll pull up something to do as a regular scheduled show tomorrow. Our normal shows are 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes in length. We do them noon Eastern time is our normal schedule. And what else? What else can I say? Can I encourage everyone to do? I guess since you're all here, I would encourage you to pick up a free copy of my best-selling book, The Law of Self-Defense Principles. It's your handbook to being hard to convict if you're ever compelled to defend yourself, your family, your property from criminal predation. Teaches you the law of self-defense in plain English. Most people say they can read it in an afternoon. Check it out on Amazon. It's 5-star rated, 1,500 reviews or something. Very well received book. Bestseller in that Amazon category. But don't buy it on Amazon. Amazon will charge you $20 or $25 for the book, plus shipping and handling. We give you the book for free. Now, we do ask that you cover the cost of shipping the book to you, but the book itself, a real physical book, we give you for free. You can get that at lawofselfdefense.com/free book. Folks, if you don't bother learning the legal boundaries for use of force, don't be surprised if you do it wrong. Most of what you think you know about self-defense law is garbage. I'm sorry, it is. There's a lot of things you think are lawful that are not. And if you do them, you're going to go to prison. So don't do them. Learn where the legal boundaries of self-defense actually are. Check out my book, Law of Self-Defense Principles. I'm giving it away at lawofselfdefense.com/free book. And you can follow me on Twitter. I am, let's see if I have a little thing for that. At Law Self-Defense. Law Self-Defense on Twitter. And what else? That's where I hang out most of the time when I'm not actively working. And I think that's about it for the moment. So thank you all for joining me for another almost hour's worth of coverage, the final hour's worth of coverage of the Hannah Gutierrez Rust shooting, death, manslaughter trial. FYI, the schedule for Alec Baldwin is August 6th. August 6th is when the trial for Alec Baldwin should begin. And of course, we'll follow it minute by minute, just as we followed Hannah Gutierrez's trial. And frankly, I expect the same outcome. Now, Alex is not facing a tampering charge. He's just facing the involuntary manslaughter charge, with the lesser included of negligent handling of a firearm. And I expect a conviction there if we get a reasonable jury who recognizes the legal merits on the law and facts of his case as well. New Mexico laws is not ambiguous about this. If you point a real gun at someone and kill them, and you don't have a legal justification like self-defense, it's either an intentional homicide, or if you claim you didn't intend it, it's involuntary manslaughter. That's it. Those are the only two choices. All right, so if you carry a gun, so you're hard to kill. That's why I carry a gun every day, so I'm hard to kill. It's why I carry a knife, why I carry pepper spray, why I practice jujitsu. So I'm hard to kill, so my family is hard to kill. If that's true of you, if you do any of those things, so you and your family are hard to kill, you also owe it to yourself and your family to make sure you know the law, so you're hard to convict as well. Until we meet again, which I hope is real soon, I remain Attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense. Stay safe.